every tragedy has an opportunity. So if you're sitting at home and you're feeling lost, you're feeling like all is gone, please realize there's something left. The fact that you woke up and you found yourself with a breath, that is something. You can begin from there.
Welcome to She Lives, a segment that highlights the great progress of the daughter of Africa. Today, we are blessed to have with us a woman who's doing tremendous stuff in the spaces they are in. Kindly allow me to introduce her to you. Hello.
Hello.
Welcome to our program.
Thank you.
Kindly introduce yourself to the audience and let us have a feel of what you do with your life.
Okay. My name is Oywaya. I'm the executive director of an organization called Kenya, an NGO that deals with road safety advocacy, awareness creation, and education. I also do other things. I work with disability organizations. At the moment, I'm on the board of the Association for the Physically Disabled of Kenya. I do advocacy in matters of road safety, both locally and internationally.
Okay, what birthed the desire for road safety? Because I can see you doing so much in that line.
My interest, or I found myself in the road safety space after I was involved in a road crash a couple of years ago. And I began to realize that there's a lot that can happen, because when you get involved in a road crash, and especially when you get a disability out of it, your life changes abruptly. So many things are new. You have to learn how to do things differently. Sometimes there is a sense of depression or stress, or different people going through different emotions. And I realized that all the incidents that we have on our roads are not necessarily accidents. Some of them are just caused. They are incidents that are caused. And that's why I'm quick to call them crashes and not accidents, because that's why I found myself in this space. And also because I have a background in psychology, I was able to work with road crash victims, survivors, and their families, so that following my experience, to be able to help them to be restored back to the community and be able to go back and do the things that they were doing, maybe differently, but still engage in society. So that's why road safety is my key passion.
Okay, how is it going so far?
Well, we have made strides. When I began over 20 years ago, just about that, there wasn't much conversation about road safety with everyone. Road safety was a police thing or a government thing. Now we have so many organizations highlighting the issues, NGOs, corporates. In fact, we have corporates that now have road safety departments. And so we are getting somewhere. And if you look at the numbers, as much as they look like they are going slightly up, but if the numbers are still around 3,000, for example, of the deaths and maybe 10,000 or thereabout of injuries, they were about the same in the last 10 years. Meaning, even as the population has grown, the number of cars has increased, the road networks have increased. It means there's something that's happening, because if you went by increased cars, increased roads, increased population, then you should be having triple. So something, I believe, is happening, but it's not enough. There's still a lot of work to be done.
Okay. Have people come to join you in this place of advocacy?
Yes, there's a lot of people now doing advocacy on road safety. Like I said, when we began, it was like we were talking to ourselves. But now we are able to even create coalitions, have task force, working groups. One of the times I can cite is when we were coming up with the law for road safety for children. And the law that now enables the government to do things like the yellow buses for school buses. That was our work. That was our work with a team of people. We processed the law through parliament, through a private member. It was passed, and it became law of Kenya. So those are some of the efforts that we see, and we look back and say, well, we are trying, but there's a lot more. There's a lot more to be done.
That is indeed great progress. And allow me to take you a little bit back. Before you got involved in the road crash, what were you doing with your life?
Before the road crash, and even slightly after, I was a banker. I was working for a bank. And after I got involved in a road crash, I realized that my life had changed in so much as accessibility issues were there, perception issues. I did not have an idea of how disability was perceived until I was in that space, and you realize that your intellect begins to be questioned. People look at you like, are you the one? When they call you and you appear, then they're expecting someone else to say, are you the one? And then you begin to realize that, there's this perception issue that needs advocates, that needs people to know that people with disability are people first.
Yeah.
You're a person, you have potential, you can do what other people can do, just differently. Like I say, I walk, but I walk differently. I move differently. That doesn't stop me from thinking, that doesn't stop me from making decisions. So yeah, I was a banker, but after a year, I went back to work. I was in and out of hospital for a while, and then I went back to work at the bank. But I realized I had changed from inside. I needed to do something different. I had this yearning and burning. What are people doing who didn't have the facilities I had? At least I had a very supportive family. I had insurance. I had people who came in through for me. What is happening to somebody who's not in that space and has gone through what I've gone through? Because what I went through was quite huge. So I began to look at how then do I interact, and one, work on prevention. That's why we do advocacy, awareness, creation, and education. And then secondly, do the post-crash. After the crash has happened, how is a person rehabilitated back to being who they were, or to going back to society? Because it's very easy to get disillusioned. And I know many people, I call friends of mine, who gave up on the fight, and they either decided to take their lives or just allow themselves to be taken out by depression.
Wow. Yeah. Depression is a big factor.
It is. Mental health generally is a big deal. Yeah.
And what do you think the government is doing enough in that segment, mental health? Because so many people are thinking it. You, just in a flash, you found yourself in a wheelchair, and that really were tormental, right? So during that period, how did you work about it? And do you feel the government is doing enough?
First of all, the government can never do enough of anything, because the government alone, whichever area you look at, it's not possible, because the government has a lot of demands, from health to economy to fishery to everything, agriculture and everything. And secondly, mental health and the space of psychology and counseling is a new thing, especially in the African context and in Kenya. It's not the go-to. It's not, when you go out of the country, seeing a counselor or seeing a psychologist, it's not a big deal. It's not a big deal. It's just what people do, and we need to debunk the myth that if I went to see a counselor, there's something wrong with me. It's just part of, it's the way you go see a doctor, it's the way you go see a facilitator, it's the way you go see a coach. So as much as the government can't do everything and can't do enough in any space that I know of, there's also the responsibility that individuals who are going through something take the responsibility and say, I am suffering, I am going through something, I'm going to talk to someone. That's where it begins. Because counseling, for example, doesn't work until a person feels that they need help. Yes. So we need to demystify the issue of mental health, so that when I say I'm depressed, I went to see a counselor, I don't think I'm mental or I'm crazy. It's just a process in life. You just seeing a consultant, you just seeing somebody that can work with me. So that's how I approach it.
Yes, like you said it, people feel like when you go to see a psychologist, maybe you have a problem. You might take the step, but I will view you as someone who has mental problems, because people have not really understood what mental health is. And more advocacy needs to be done on that as because we are losing so many lives.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's a wonderful thing.
And it's about stigma, the same stigma that is meted on people with disabilities. Mental health is one of those disability areas. There's a lot of stigma. There's a lot of misunderstanding. Just like I said, when people see you, for me, for example, and it's my personal experience, before you begin to speak, they already have rated you below average. And they get surprised when you engage in a certain space and say, oh, so you are yeah, so stigma is a big deal, and the stigma for physical disability, the stigma for mental disability, and the stigma for other types of disability, which we need to work around.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
Now, you say that when you were involved in a crash and you would appear maybe in boardrooms and people would look at you like, are you the one we wanted to see? How are those people viewing you now with the good policy?
Well, maybe I don't care anymore. Maybe I don't notice, because I got to a place of accepting myself, which is a very important aspect if you've been through any type of trauma or any type of disability that maybe you weren't born with. You go through that whole cycle, but you have to come to a place of negotiating with yourself and accepting this is the new me and this is the new normal. And once you get to that space, it doesn't matter. I don't know whether people walk around remembering I am short or I am tall, or people don't. People just move. So it's the same. So I don't even notice. I used to notice a lot when people used to look at me. You go to a supermarket and people turn to look. So you wonder, do they think because I use a wheelchair I don't eat because I need to buy substance? Yeah. So it's about a mind shift. It's about an attitude change, first from me, and then the society treats you the way you present yourself. I always say that somebody can only sit on your back if you're bending. That if you stand up, they don't have that opportunity. So I stood up for myself.
Great.
Yeah.
And so many people need to stand up for themselves, like especially in this period.
Yeah.
Where people have lost jobs.
Yes.
People have lost
There's a lot of pain and loss. Yes.
Yes, there's a lot of pain right now. And this is the time people need to stand up for themselves and identify with who they are.
Yeah.
You know? So, as we approach winding now, what would be your word of advice to that person who's at home? Because all of us have some form of disability, either in our mind, as we have said, our mindset, and in various ways. What would be your word of advice to that person who's sitting at home feeling like they are unworthy or they cannot do anything in this life? Or maybe they have lost something they want.
Well, first I'll say that when you experience a huge loss, there's a lot of adjustments that need to happen. It's a normal process for you to go through all those things of denial, depression, negotiation. It's a normal process. If you're a human being, then you'll have to go through that. But you have to get to a place, and that's why counseling and psychology is very important. That's you need to get to a place of now accepting the new normal, whether it's the loss of a job, whether it's the loss of a spouse, whether it's a loss of income. There is always something you can do with what's left. The human mind likes to look at what is lost, but I encourage people to look at what's left. When I lost the use of my legs, I tried to emphasize what was left. I speak a lot and I speak well, I believe. I can communicate. So I decided to use what was left. So I use what is left. So if you look hard enough, everybody, regardless of where you find yourself, there's potential. There's potential in you. There's something that's left, even if you've lost the major part of the things that you held on to. And sometimes just one door closing is the beginning of the other door. I was a banker. And when I lost the use of my legs and my life changed, I left the bank voluntarily. I discovered I had a lot more potential out there. It is this work of advocacy that has shown me the world. I've traveled the world because of this work of advocacy. Others would be sitting at a desk in a bank somewhere, not getting exposed to the world, not knowing what other people do out there. So there's always opportunity in every tragedy. Every tragedy has an opportunity. So if you're sitting at home and you're feeling lost, you're feeling like all is gone, please realize there's something left. The fact that you woke up and you found yourself with a breath, that is something. You can begin from there. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Brad, for that wonderful interview.
Thank you for having me.
You are a powerhouse,
Thank you.
you know, and I know so many people have learned a lot from this story that you have shared, and continue doing this work of advocacy because, as you have mentioned, on our roads, those are not, most of them are not accidents,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and I'm just so glad you took the step and there's progress in this space.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for having me.
You've heard it from Bright that however grave your loss is, however bad your situation is, you can always rise and thrive, for there is always an opportunity in our losses. This is Chile that highlights the great progresses of the daughter of Africa, and we aspire to bring you more and change lives. From me, Abulatsa Imbukwa, keep it Success Africa.